Good afternoon students, and in this lesson we are going to start the new module in our course CSS. In order to create the web user interfaces, mainly we require two languages, HTML and CSS. HTML is used to create the elements. Suppose I want to create the heading, I want to create paragraph, I want to create the table, I want to create the form. To create the elements, what is required is the HTML language is required. But HTML doesn't involve in the styling part. Alternatively, we have to use CSS in order to apply the styles to the elements. Using CSS, we can apply different types of styles. For example, we can apply background colors, background images, borders, margins, paddings, alignments, position. All the complete layout can be created by using the combination of HTML and CSS. Today, we are going to see some of the basic topics of CSS, such as font styles and the text styles. And a CSS program can be written inside the HTML file. First, we are going to take the file name with the .html extension. Inside the HTML file itself, we are going to write the HTML code and the CSS code. That is one type of pattern. Another type of pattern is we will write the CSS code separately and we have to load or import the CSS file into the HTML file. We have to load the CSS file into HTML file. That is the second pattern. So, in case of large scale application development, the second pattern is better. Means we have to write the CSS code separately and HTML code separately, and we have to load the CSS file into HTML file. The benefit of separation of CSS is, even though we have a large application, even though we have multiple pages, the CSS code can be reusable, because the one CSS code or one CSS file can be imported or loaded into multiple HTML files. So, that is the reason for large scale applications we prefer separate CSS file. But on the other hand, while learning time, while understanding the concept, it is not recommended to go to a separate CSS file. So, learning time, a single file, that is HTML and CSS combined into single file is better. While application development, while real time application development, the separation of CSS file is better. Now, let us try to understand some of the basic concepts of CSS. First, I want to tell the syntax of CSS. The CSS code must be written inside the style tag. The style tag must be written inside the head tag. So, first we have to place head. Inside the head we have to write a style. Inside style we have to write your actual CSS code. Now, let us try to prepare a simple application for this. So, have a look at once in the example. So, syntax of CSS. First, we have to begin the CSS code by keeping the style tag, and inside the style tag we are going to write your CSS code. The CSS code can be written with the selector. Inside the braces we have to write your property with value. The property name can be anything, value also can be anything. So, first we have to select. After selecting, we have to apply the style by using the property. Every property must be having a value. For example, I am selecting the H1 tag, and for that H1 tag, I am trying to apply color is equal to red. Here color is an example of property, red is an example of value. Okay, let us create this application program. So, just go to file menu, new file, save the file, CSS first example.html. We have to save it inside C:\CSS folder. So, creating a basic syntax of HTML, CSS first example, okay. Here I am going to have some heading tags. We have few heading tags. Now, for all these headings, I want to apply red color. In order to apply the color for all these headings, we have to first go to the style tag. Here we have to select the H1 tag. How do we select this H1 tag? By using the tag selector, that is H1. So, H1 is called as a tag selector, which will select all these instances of the H1 tag. For all these instances, we are going to apply some color is equal to red. Now, we can notice the red color will be applied for the all H1 tags. So, let us execute this program. Now, we can see for all the headings, we can see the red color. Okay, now we can see red color. So, I want to change the style. For example, I want to add a background color for this particular heading. So, what will you do? In the same selector, we are going to add one more property, background color is equal to some color name, for example, yellow color. So, yellow color will be the background for this with the red color text. So, here in this example, we have 3 points. One is selector, property, value. Selector will select the element, that is, it will decide for what elements it has to apply the style. So, we are specifying that H1. That means all these H1 tags will be selected. For all these H1s, we are trying to apply the color, that is color is equal to red. Here color is a property, red is a value. Okay. Now, I want to apply the red color for only for specific element, for example, only for this first instance. But how do we identify this first instance? There should be some identification name for that. In order to specify the identification name, we have to use ID selector. ID is equal to some ID can be given. For example, my heading. Here my heading is just a user defined name. We can give any identification name. So, based on the ID, I want to select the particular heading, only the first heading. Then what we have to do? Hash is required. Hash is a symbol of ID selector. Hash is symbol of ID selector. So, it is selecting only the single instance that is having ID equal to my heading, and ID cannot be duplicate. And for this heading, we are trying to apply the color is equal to blue color. Now, if you can notice, only for first heading we can see blue color, for all the remaining we can see red color. So, in case if you want to select the tags based on the tag name, we have to use tag selector. In place of H1, we can give any tag name such as P, div or anything. And in case if you want to select a single element, then we have to use ID selector, that is hash. Okay. Now, I want to specify some CSS properties. So, the first one, color, will specify text color. Already we have seen this in example, color is used to specify the text color. Second property is background color, specifies background color of the element. And the third one is font family. This will specify name of the font. To specify the name of the font, we have to use font family. Let me show an example. Let me take one more example. So, same content repeats. Okay. Font properties is a topic name. So, file name is font properties.html. Here I would like to have some heading with a paragraph. Okay, some heading I want to just take. To take some dummy content, go to Google page, click on terms, In the terms, we can just copy paste some heading and paragraph. For example, I am just copying and pasting welcome to Google. That is a heading for us. And also we have some paragraph. And for easy access, I am going to give ID for each of these particular heading and paragraph. So, ID is equal to my heading. For this paragraph, ID is equal to my paragraph. Based on this ID, we can easily select them. First, I am selecting the my heading. So, for this I am just giving color equal to blue. Now, we can notice for the H1 we can export the blue color. Now, we can notice the blue color applied for the heading, and I want to change the paragraph font family. To specify the font family, we have to use font family property. So, here for this paragraph, for the my paragraph, font family is equal to, here we can specify any default font name. For example, I am just writing Times New Roman. It is one of the fonts. So, you can refresh. Now, we can see Times New Roman font. So, in case if you want to know the font names, just go to your notepad, format menu font. Here you can see the sample fonts. Any one of these fonts we can try to use. For example, I am trying to use Encode Sans font. Encode Sans. Now, we can notice that font is applied. So, let me apply this font for the heading, and for the content we are going to apply another font called Consolers. Now, we can see heading is having one font, that is Encode Sans. For the content we can see another font called the Consolers. Next property, font size. This will specify size of the font. To specify the size of the font, we have to use font size property. So, the default font size is 16 pixels. We can increase or decrease it. For example, I am just giving 10 pixels. Notice now the paragraph is having very small in size. We can even increase it. For example, 20 pixels. 20 pixels. Now, we can see 20 pixels font size. As per the requirement, we can give anything. Next, also I want to apply bold. To apply the bold, we have to give font weight is equal to bold. Now, we can say bold for the text. Also, in case if you want to apply the italic, we have to add a font style italic. Now, we can see the italic is applied for the font. Next, letter spacing will specify gap between letters. For example, 10 pixels. Now, we can notice gap between letters increased. Next, word spacing will specify gap between words. For example, I am just giving word spacing 30 pixels. Now, in between the words, the gap is increased, that is 30 pixels. Next, line height specifies height of the line. For example, I am just giving 50 pixels. Now, we can notice the gap between lines have been increased. Each line occupying 50 pixels of height. The height of the line of text is 50 pixels right now. Each line is 50 pixels here equally. Next, text decoration. None means normal, that means as it is the text is visible, and also we have underline underline will display underline for the text. You can see the below the text we have line, that is underline, and also we have overline. Overline will display above the text, you will have a line. Okay, underline will display below the text, overline will display above the text. Another option is line through, will display across the text, that is also called as strikeout. Next, to specify the alignment, we have to use text align. Text align, the default align is left alignment. Instead of that, I am just writing right alignment. Now we can notice the text is right aligned. So right side edges are correctly maintained, but not left side. Next, also we have center. So each line is center aligned now. Each line horizontally center. For example, this line is center, this line is center. Each line is aligned center individually. Alternatively, we can specify justify in order to align them justified. So now we can notice both the left side and right side edges are correctly maintained. Next property, text transform, will display uppercase, means only uppercase letters will be displayed. Now we can notice that text is uppercase, means the complete text is now converted into uppercase. And also we can notice lowercase. Now the text is completely converted into lowercase. So uppercase, text transform uppercase will display the text in uppercase. Text transform lowercase will display the text in lowercase. Another option is capitalize, means in every word first letter capital. In every word first letter capital. For example, our O caps services, S caps or A caps, etc. But these properties are being applied for the entire paragraph. Instead of that, I want to apply the particular paragraph for a particular word. For example, I want to highlight only this particular word, product requirements. Only this single word I want to highlight with a different color and font weight, etc. Then what will you do? In order to identify that particular part of the text, we have to keep that particular text inside a span tag. We have to keep the text inside the span tag. So span tag is opened and closed. Inside the span tag, we are going to place some ID. For example, identification name is a span 1. So only by placing span, we don't see any difference particularly, but now we can identify that text as independent item. So for the span 1, we can apply any style. So span 1, first we are selecting the span 1. After selecting, we can apply the color for it. For example, color equal to green. Now it is applying the green color for the particular paragraph. And also we can add font weight bold. For this we will go normal. So the entire text is normal, but only the particular word is bolded now. And we can also increase the font size. The paragraph font size is 20 pixels, but we are going to give 24 pixels. Now we can notice the span 1 is 24 pixels. Okay. Now we can also apply a background color if required. Background color, some pink color. So only for the particular text, the background color is applied. So which of the properties you would like to apply, including background color, font size, font weight, anything can be applied by using the span tag. So the purpose of this span tag is representing a particular text, a particular part of the text. I want to highlight this particular word or this particular sentence or this particular part of the text. We can apply by using the span tag. So if the span tag is not there, what happens? Only we can apply the style for entire paragraph. If I want to highlight the particular text, that may not be possible. So but fortunately we have a span tag to highlight the particular text. So, first we have to place the heading, and for the heading we will apply the style. Next also we have placed the paragraph, we have applied the style. Inside the paragraph, for a particular word we can give the span tag, and also we have applied the style for the span tag itself. Now, let us see how to apply the background color and background image for the entire web page. So, let us check it. Background.html I am going to create. Okay, just we have created a simple page which is having a heading and paragraph. I want to apply background color for the entire web page. To apply the background color, we have to use body tag, because the body tag is representing the complete web page. This complete white color area where you can see the web page is called as body tag right now. So, inside the body tag we are going to apply some style, for example, just background color, and in order to specify the color code we have to specify FF, that is hexadecimal number. So, we can choose the color here. So, once we have selected a color like this, automatically for the selected color the color code is typed here. So, here internally it will follow RGB format, means first number is representing red, next number is representing green, next number is representing blue, RGB. Out of 6 characters, each 2 characters represent red, green, blue. So, by combination of red, green, blue we can generate 16 million colors. So, that is RGB formula. So, now we can notice the background color has been changed. Now, I want to apply background image. So, let us have an image first. For example, we have an image called trees.jpg. We have an image trees.jpg. So, this one trees.jpg. I want to apply this image as a background image for the entire web page. So, first we have to copy this and paste in the current working folder, that is C:\CSS. And how to apply this file name as a background image? Just we have to add background image, file name URL of trees.jpg. Now, this image has been applied as a background image for the entire web page. Now, we can notice the background image changed. Okay, there is a property called background attachment. The background attachment property specifies whether the background image should be scrolled or not. To understand this, let me create some more number of paragraphs. This span tag is not required for this. So, I am going to repeat the same paragraph. I am just copying and pasting several times to add more content. To add the more content, I am just copying and pasting in the paragraph. Now, we can see huge content, but the question is, when you scroll the page up and down, is the background image scrolling? Yes, background image is also scrolling along with the content. But now we have an option called background attachment equal to fixed. By adding this option background attachment fixed, what happens is, now the web page is just only text is scrolling, background image is stable as it is, only text is scrolling on the top of it. So, in case if you want to scroll the text, only scroll the text, but not the background image, we have to give background attachment fixed. So, the background attachment has 2 options, scroll and fixed. Scroll means the background image also will be scrolled along with the text. Background attachment fixed means the background image will be fixed on the top of it, only text is scrolling on the top of the paragraph, on the top of the background image. Okay, now let us try to understand opacity property for this. Next property, opacity. So opacity property, opacity.html, I just create. In this case also we have a background image for the web page. Now I want to apply a background color for the paragraph also. So for the first paragraph we have some ID, for example P1 for paragraph 1. So for this P1 I am just trying to apply a background color. In order to select the color code, we have to give FF, and if you just place the mouse pointer on that, it is showing the color palette, and you can choose any color of your choice. But this color palette will be shown only in the Visual Studio Code window, but not in the Notepad. If you are writing the program through Notepad, you will not get this color palette. So let's save and run this. Now we can see there is a box, and that particular box is not transparent right now. I want to make this box transparent. That means through this particular box, the background information also should be visible. So how to make it visible? Let's try to notice. So as it is not transparent, the text is clearly visible. The background image is not visible on the back side of it. Now I would like to make this particular box transparent. In order to make the box transparent, we have to give opacity property. The opacity property makes the particular content transparent, so that through the particular element the background image also will be visible. So we can just add opacity. Opacity is 0.7 for example. So actually we can give any number between 0 to 0.1. Whereas 0 means completely the element is transparent. 1 means completely it is non-transparent. So any middle number, for example 0.7, 0.8, etc. will make the paragraph transparent. Now we can see the paragraph is transparent. So through this particular paragraph, we can see the background information also. Means if we just reduce more, for example we have given 0.5. So through the paragraph we can see the background image. That means it is transparent right now. So we have understood the opacity property. Now let us try to understand the next chapter in CSS, that is understanding the div tag. Actually div that is a tag is related to HTML language, but it is correct to explain the div tag in CSS because you don't understand the div tag importance in HTML. That's why even though earlier I have shown you a basic example of a div tag in HTML, I did not explain much. So this is the correct time to understand the div tag. So what is exactly the div? So well, a web page is there, complete web page. So having many boxes. Each individual box inside a web page is called as a div. A box inside a web page is called as a div. A meaningful part, a meaningful division of the page. For example, a header part, navigation bar, left side column, page content, footer. Each box is called as a div tag. And div is a division of the page, it's a part of the page. And inside the div we can place any content whatever you wish. For example, you want to place some images or tables or forms, anything, any content we can place inside the div tag. So we can place the div inside the div. Suppose we have outer div, inside the outer div we have a inner div. So outer div is a container, inner div is a child of the outer container. So let's try to create the div tags practically. Okay, let's have a look at once the div tag. I am just taking empty HTML file, so there is no CSS inside it, even there is no HTML, just basic syntax is there like this. Just in this one I want to just add a div tag. So the look and feel of the div is like this, just it's a box. Inside the box we can place some content. for example div1. Now we can see the plain text. See, only by placing div tag there you will not get any special design or special background color or border. Just a div and just a div is a box. So for this div, whichever the style you want, we have to apply manually, like background color or border or else anything we have to apply. So let's give some ID for this, for example div1, and we have to select it by using its ID selector. So div1 hash div1 will select this particular div, and for this hash div1 we are trying to apply the background color. Suppose the background color is some green color, for example. So now we can see the color. Suppose if you don't like it, you can change the color, suppose some magenta color. So any color we can just provide. We can also increase the font size by using font size property, for example 35 pixels. Now you can see 35 pixels, right. Like this you can create any number of div tags. In case if you create multiple div tags, for example 5 div tags, 5 div tags are created, and for each div tag we are going to give a different background colors. So div1, div2, div3, div4 and div5. For each div we are trying to apply different colors. For example, I'm just applying some different color, for example this one. Okay, so I'm just choosing a different colors for each one so that you can just understand. So okay, so for this I want to add a text color is white, and for this fourth one we have some different color, even for this last one also. Okay, so we have given different colors. So the boxes are like this, the div tag boxes are like this, right. The div tag is occupying the complete available width. In case if you maximize, you can see like this, complete width of the web page is 100% occupied by the div tags. So even though content is small, content is very small, the complete width is occupied by the div tags. And we can change the width and height of the div tags by using width height properties. For example, I'm just adding for the div1 width is equal to 200 pixels, height is equal to 150 pixels. The width property specifies width of the div and height property specifies height of the div. So now we can see the width is 200 pixels, height is 150 pixels. And we can give the width and height for each div. I'm just giving width and height for each div. We can give same values or different values. So we have 5 divs so that you can see the 5 div tags, right. But I want to display this particular div tags side by side. In order to display side by side, what we have to do is that to display them side by side, we have to give float left. Float left allows you to display side by side. So here float left, here also float left. So we have to add the float left for the div tags where you want to display them side by side. We have added float left for all the div tags, so we can see all the div tags side by side. Then what about div5? Why it is going to next line is the reason there is no sufficient place. If you just maximize, if you just resize the browser, you can see the div tag side by side. Okay, now let me reduce the width. For example, width is 150 pixels I'm giving for all. So now we can exactly see side by side. So we can give any number of pixels for the width. Now all the div tags are appear side by side right now. Okay. So we can give any pixels for the width, any pixels for the height. So all the div tags appear side by side. Now I want to push the div 4 to next line expectedly. Always I want to push the div 4 next line. Presently what happening is that if the content is small, okay, there is no sufficient place for that, then only div 4 is going to next line. But I want to push the div 4 always to be in next line. I never want to see the div 4 in the first line. Then what we have to do, to push it to next line, we have to add one more property, clear left. Okay. So by giving clear left, what you can try to do, we are trying to say that it is going to next line. Clear left says that next line. So we have to give clear left from where you want to go to next line. So for a div 1 we have given float left, for div 2 float left, for div 3 float left. So for all these div tags we have given float left. So for which one you want to go to next line, for that only we have to give clear left. So float left will display them in a order, in a sequence. To cut the sequence, to stop the sequence, we have to give clear left. And there is a possibility of using float right also. Instead of using float left, we can also keep them float right. So let's make in a separate file. Instead of giving float left, I am giving float right. So wherever float left is, I am just replacing with the float right. In case of float left, we have to use clear left. In case of float right, we have to use clear right. Okay. So just we have added float right. Now we can notice the float right is displaying right to left order, means this direction, right to left direction. So whereas the first one here and the second one in the left hand side of that, third one is again left hand side of that. So float left means the direction is left to right, float right means the direction is right to left. So generally in the applications we would like to use float left in most of the cases. It is rare to go for float right. Okay. So I want to specify the margin, that means gap between these particular div tags. So I am just writing margin, some pixels, for example 5 pixels margin. So surrounding the div we can see some margin. You can notice instead of giving here, I am just giving in the previous example, right. Okay, here notice the div 1. So surrounding, and that means in the top side, right side, bottom side and the left side also, for surrounding all the sides of the particular div, we can see 5 pixels margin is maintained. We can even give more value, for example 25 pixels will have a more value. So surrounding all the 4 sides, so margin top, margin right, margin bottom, margin left, all the 4 sides we can see margin is maintained. And we can give the margin for all the remaining div tags also. Okay. So margin 25 pixels, margin 25, margin 25 for each. For each div we have given margin 25 pixels. Now we can see all the div tags are appear side by side. At the same time some gap is maintained. So can you guess how many pixels distance between these two? Answer is 50 pixels distance. The reason how it is 50 pixels, so we have given 25 pixels margin for the div 1 and a 25 pixels margin for the div 2 also, right. So 25 pixels right margin for the div 1 plus 25 pixels left margin for the div 2. So 25 pixels right margin of the div 1 plus 25 pixels left margin of the div 2. 25 plus 25, 50 pixels distance is maintained here. Even here, everywhere, even here, everywhere you can see 50 pixels distance. So in order to reduce it, we have to reduce the right margin of the div 2 or left margin of the div 2. Okay. So we can specify the gap between the elements by using margin, and also we can provide border. So border style, we can go for example solid, means we can see a standard border for the div 1. Okay, so a standard border, normal plain border is visible surrounding the div 1. And also border style, for example 5 pixels, we are increasing the thickness of the border width 5 pixels. Now we can see border thickness has been increased. Okay, and also border color also can be specified. For example, we can see blue color. So blue color border is given for the particular div. So instead of repeatedly writing the 3 different properties, we can also specify them in shortcut way, that is just we have to give border, just a border. Okay, first we have to give border width space border style space border color. That's all. Okay, so just by giving border width space border style and border color, we can just bring the same here. So even this border is same, but in the first case we have mentioned separately, individually border style separately, border width, border color, but in the second case we have used a shortcut way. So let's repeat the same for all the remaining, and yeah. So now we have given the border for all the div tags. Now we can see border. Okay, even for third one border is there. Okay, let me change this one. Right. So now we can see the border. Now we have some property called border radius. So border radius, I am giving 10 pixels. So border radius will make it rounded corners. Now we can see the border of the div 1, it's having border radius, rounded corners on all these 4 sides. So we have given the same for all the remaining. Border radius 5 pixels, 10 pixels. We have given border radius for all the div tags. So now we can see border radius for all the div tags. Like this we can specify. So here what are the different properties we have learned? Okay, so the div tag is representing a single box. Inside the div we have some content, and inside the div we are going to place some any kind of content, maybe paragraph or text or images or tables, whatever it is. We have applied a margin, padding, border, and float left to display them side by side, clear left to go to next line. So we have understood the CSS basics, and also we have understood the div tag and margin, border, padding. Okay, so in the further lessons we will enhance more about the CSS. Thank you.